It seems to me you're a bit of a cowboy the way you're carrying on.
You listening? Fucking listen to this.
G'day, legends, listeners, and the likes. How we all doing today? So by the time this comes out, it'll be Monday, but it's currently Saturday, and we're heading north again, back up to Emerald. Sunday, midday load. What more could you want? Righto, so this episode, we're going to touch on my time spent doing FIFO, flying in and flying out of WA, Western Australia. We'll touch on the good, the bad, the piss boilers of that side of the industry, the good mates I've met, the people I worked with, and the perks of doing the job and the downfalls of doing the job. Now, before we go too much further, many of you know where I worked, what I was doing, but there will be no mention of the company I worked for, the place I worked. It'd be just the general area. If you know, you know. And what sort of podcaster am I? Didn't even introduce the show, just in case you're a first time listener. Welcome back to another episode of Throttle On, Full Send, Never Lift podcast, episode 7. Righto, we'll jump back into it now that we got that out of the way. And we'll start off with the reasoning I decided to head over the west and do a bit of FIFO. Now, it had been played around with before in my mind about going over, doing some triple side type of work, and I'd never got around to doing it because, well, I love cow carting too much. But mid 2023, I had a bit of a scare, a few big days and big nights on the road, as well as trying to keep the family life happy, leaving late to go out to jobs, getting there, fatigued all the time. Anyway, cut a long story short, I give myself a bit of a scare in the table drain, and I decided, nah, enough's enough. So I started applying for jobs over in Western Australia. It had always taken my interest to want to go over to the Wild West, as some of you call it. And I landed a job with a company at a gold mine, haulage company. So I moved over there and started living in a camp, driving side tippers. Now, side tippering wasn't new to me. I wasn't an expert, but it was a whole different ball game over there. As some of you who have been in the gold mining industry with side tippers, there is some fucking big rocks over there that you have to tip out. I was just used to the old white gravel and sand and dirt, shit that runs out easy and doesn't pop tires. I can choose a whole different ball game over here. But, and just to clarify, I was in the side tippers over there for 10 months before I became a supervisor. And I reckon I only did about 2 tires, 2 sidewalls. Oh, I changed a lot of tires due to what they call in the industry over there, little drillers that get into your tires and give you a flatty, which in turn gives you a fucking fatty because we had to change our own tires. But nevertheless, I did all right, I thought. So yeah, that was my introduction to heading over the west. It was a brand new adventure for me. One of the reasons I decided to do it also was I had a bit of ambition in life where I wanted to buy a truck, start running around with cow crates. So it was only a 2 year plan. And yeah, it did only last approximately 2 years. And I'm back and I still didn't end up in the truck. But anyway, things come slowly in life. Just remember that it will happen eventually. So yeah, it was a it was a big step for me to go over there. And there's nothing worse. We all know what it's like going into a camp. You don't know what you're doing, especially when you've never lived that life. You spent most of your life living in a truck, doing your own thing and everything like that. But when you go over to a camp of 1,000 people and yeah, I don't think I ate for a week. I didn't go into that mess. I was too nervous. Didn't know what I was doing. Didn't know what you're allowed to take. All that bullshit. But trust me, once I worked out what I was doing, camp food got the better of me. But yeah, the one perk I will uh, say where I was, it was a pretty good camp. I ended up in a brand new room, never been slept in, and we had permanent rooms, so we did never had to take our stuff backwards and forwards like most camps make you do when you're living in camps and that. A lot of these places you don't have your own room, you just swapping rooms and hoteling as they call it. But yeah, we had permanent rooms. It was a fairly new camp, so everything was pretty good. And yeah, the mine I was working at now is a fairly big lease. Stretches, I don't know, I think it's 64 kilometres across, 64 kilometres down, everything like that. But I still remember my first day, my first week really getting out there and driving around. First week they sit you with someone for a couple of days, sit in the passenger seat, and then you do a bit of driving and everything when you get used to it. We were driving tri drive Mac Titans over there, and with three trailers, they were set up to be able to tip straight into a crusher. And yeah, I can tell you, easiest truck driving job I've ever had. But I remember heading out there and just when we were driving around doing the induction and everything like that, and I'm thinking, holy fuck, what have I got myself into here? Just having a look at the outlay of the show and how big everything was, and I thought, well, there's a lot of areas I got to remember. But once we got into it, it was basically just set runs. I think the longest run was 30K. If you were doing tailings back across to the paste plants, yeah, 30 odd K trip, you're probably only doing six a day. There's a bit of hilly country, speed limits, stop signs. We all know what it's like on a mine site. But yeah, it was a big eye opener for me. Um, Out on a salt lake, probably sort of gives away the location, but yeah, out on a salt lake, I'd never seen anything like it coming from Queensland, mainly places where I have visited or driven around. There's a bit of grass. That place, fucking nothing. She just salt lake and scrub, red dirt. But yeah, when I started on B crew, now when I say I met some fucking legends in this job, I met a lot of fucking legends. Some of them stuck around, but there was a fair bit of a turnover in that place where I was working. for reasons I don't know. But yeah, the blokes that I worked with for the first 10 months, the one bloke in particular, and I'll give him a shout out because he's a very keen follower of the show, Jack. He, yeah, we had some wild times, a lot of shit talk on the UHF. We used to have a bit of a code. We'd press the button a few times. That'd be the code to swap down a few channels. And we'd just get on there and just talk absolute shit. We'd both have side tippers on, pass each other. You got a copy in the triple? Yeah, mate, gotcha. Yeah, mate, yeah, all good back that way. By the way, you might need to pull up tighten your chains. Just shit like that. Just shit to get us through the day. I used to love it. And then they took fucking UHF's office and only those had mine radios. So yeah, that was a bit of a downfall. All you could do when you'd see each other is just go past and frighten the fuck out of each other with the air horn. So she was a 2 on, 1 off gig. Week of days, week of nights, week off. Now, when you're flying in and flying out of Queensland, your week off, you use 2 of your days basically for flying. And that was the downfall because you get home. Now, we used to do night shift, finish night shift about, I don't know, 4:30, 5 o'clock. Back to the room, you had approximately 30 minutes to get ready, get your shit together, have a shower, have a feed if you wanted one. I always used to keep a couple of Jack Daniels cans handy, and then you're straight on the bus to the airport, jump on the plane, Kalgoorlie, and then fly over to Perth, sit there for an hour or so, jump on the plane, fly 5 hours back to Queensland, back into Brisbane. Now, the biggest downfall out of that is, yeah, yeah, some people can sleep on the plane, everything like that. I'm not a real good sleeper on the plane because 9 times out of 10, when I fall asleep on the plane, I feel sorry. I always got a window seat, right? So I could try and lean my head up against the thing and have a bit of a camp if I needed to. But it never worked out like that. I always headbutted the fucking people that were on my left hand side or my right hand side when I was sitting on the window seat. Give a few people a few good fucking headbutts from nodding off, but yeah. So you were getting home, and then I had to drive 2 hours back out to Toowoomba, and after a while, it took a fair toll on you because you weren't getting a good break really. Like yeah, you had a week off, which turned into what 5 days instead of 7 because you're using 2 of them for flying, and it did take a toll on me and my ability to be a partner and to be a father. And I reckon I was a lot worse off doing the FIFO than what I was driving. Like, yeah, I get home, I'm tired, bit cranky sometimes, but doing that job for some reason it just fucking absolutely took it out of me. And at the start there, I loved it, and I just looked forward to getting back over there all the time. And that was a big downfall as well. My partner at the time could see that it was like I rathered being over there than being home with my family. But anyway, it it did it did ruin my relationship. A few things that happened, but yeah, that is another downfall of it. Is it's hard on families. Like I know being a truck driver, you're away, but doing that, you're 5,000 kilometers away. You can't just get home that easy without booking flights, and everything like that. And living in a camp, everyone, a lot of people thought that I was just living the dream, living a holiday. Like you get your food supplied, bed to sleep in, everything like that. It's like one thing I can tell you, it's not a fucking holiday. You're living in a little room, bed, TV, shower, toilet, and a cupboard. Yeah, you can get out if you do that sort of stuff and go to the gym, go for a walk, all that sort of stuff. But when you're like me and struggle in a social environment where there's heaps of people, I mainly just stayed in my room, and it took a bit of a toll on my mental state because, yeah, people thought I was living the dream, but I can tell you I fucking wasn't. I was really struggling. And a lot of you sitting there might think, well, you sit in a truck for fucking however many hours a day. It's smaller than a room. But the difference is your room isn't fucking going around the countryside. It's in the one spot. And you're not, it's a set routine, yeah, what you're doing, but it's, you're not as well rested as what everyone thinks. So we used to start at 5:30 every morning. That'd be pre-start, but it was 20 odd k out to the goal line, and so you were up at 3, and you were making your smoko, making your lunch, having breakfast, getting ready to go, getting a coffee, heading over to the bus, sitting there, and then you're out at the mine by 5. Give yourself enough time to have a smoke, everything like that before you go into the pre-start, and then you started your day. Now, 12-hour day, obviously, 5:30 to 5:30. By the time you get back to camp in the afternoon, it's nearly 6 o'clock. Now, as you know, there's a 2-hour difference between Queensland and Western Australia. So by the time you got back to camp, you're trying to ring the family, talk to the kids. Um, Not only that, like I used to ring my mum a bit, ring my mother. So that takes an hour out of your time. Have a shower, have a feed, everything like that, and then you got to have a social life. So you talk to a few of the boys in the afternoons, and then put your washing on, do whatever you had to do. So by that stage, she's probably 9 o'clock. You're going to sleep about 10, and then you're up at 3 again. And I can tell you, I was more fucked doing that than doing what I'm doing now, even though it was a set routine. But if anyone says that living in camps and all that sort of shit, you got it easy, be fucked, you do. Yeah, you got it easy, like I said, with the food and everything like that. But it takes a toll on you, and I can't really explain why it takes such a toll, besides what I just touched on. But yeah, mentally, it fucks you. Now, during that 10 months, I wasn't just in the side tippers. The good thing about where I worked is there was a lot of variety. So whether it was driving a loader, loading the crusher, or loading road trains, driving excavator, steel picking, stockpiling, driving a fucking scraper. Well, not a scraper, it was a fucking moxie with 2 scraper bowls behind it. And oh, I spent a fair bit of time on that digging out a tailings dam. And fuck me. Yeah, at the start, I was like, fuck, this is like the old days when I was doing a bit on scrapers. But then after a little bit, I was like, why did I even fucking put my hand up for this? Anyway, won't go there. Um, yeah, so there was a fair bit of variety in what we were doing. So it kept you, it wasn't just the monotonous running backwards and forwards, getting loaded, tip off. coming back, getting loaded, tip off. You were doing a lot of things, and once I worked out that I could operate all this machinery, I sort of stepped away from the side tippers and did a fair bit of operating. Besides Jack, I was the only other float operator there. So you'd do a couple of loads, the supervisor would call you, choppy Gav, go and park up, jump in the float, go and move the dozer, excavator, whatever, which I didn't mind. And then you'd jump back in your side tipper, choppy Gav, go and jump in the water cart. And don't get me wrong, I love that fucking water cart because I used to have a bit of fun with it. See, onto them ROM pads up to where the crusher was, it's about, I don't know, 40 fucking meters in the air. So it's a fair jump up to get up there. And when you got 185 ton of dirt on a triple, you're fucking struggling. So when all the other boys would hear over the UHF that Gab was getting in the water car, everyone would start sweating bullets, and you'd start hearing, "Don't you fucking wet that ramp? Don't you wet them corners?" Fucking, I used to make it wetter than an otter's pocket. If you can't drive, don't fucking get in it. But within reason, you got to be safe about it. As a lot of us know that have worked in the mines, it is a big safety conscious place, which brings me to a bit of a fucking piss boiler. Take fives. Fuck, we had to do a minimum of 2 a day to receive our site bonus. And fucking Jesus. I don't think I wrote the same shit every day, and they fucking hated it because you're doing other tasks. But in them tasks, you're doing the same fucking thing. So write the same shit. Anyway, that was my little piss baller for this segment. Yeah, so I enjoyed doing all that, stirring the boys up when I get in the water cart. Love steel picking on night shift because driving a road train, yeah, it's not like out on the road where you going different places and you got your wits about you. You do get fairly fatigued doing it because they're only short runs and you're going slow because of the weight and everything like that. So I used to love getting on the excavator on night shift, fucking swinging around like a madman, picking a bit of steel. But yeah, so I did that for 10 months and then we had a change of supervisors. Now, in that time, shout out to the supervisor that we had at the time. Very straightforward bloke, and I respect him a lot as a supervisor. He taught me a lot, and we still get along to this day. We had a few run-ins, but the next day you come to work and like the old days, you have a run-in, you get over it, you go back to work. So we had a change of supervisors, and I'd had a few words with the supervisor at the time, mainly because I was letting myself get dragged down by negativity, and a few things were pissing me off with a few things that were happening. And I won't go into it too much, but yeah, I'd had a few words, and my future at that job wasn't looking very fucking good. And I was told this that yeah, I was gonna get moved on because of my negativity, but for some unknown reason, this is where the rest of the career in the mines goes. Some unknown reason, they seen a bit of potential in me and give me a shot. They made me a 2IC of B Creek. Now, I wouldn't say, like, yeah, I'm all about progression, but I wouldn't say I 100% was keen on the idea of doing it. But they put me in the role. I was 2IC for about 2 swings, and then I got jumped into being supervisor of fucking sea crew. Now, for everyone that knows that have worked in the mines with an A, B, and C crew, there's always that crew rivalry. Now, I got along with C crew fairly well because there was a few mad fellas. Shout out to Timmy. Still can't say your fucking last name, so if you're listening, you know who I'm talking about. But there was a few fellas on there and ladies that I got along with, but you always got that crew to crew rivalry. Fuck A crew, fuck B crew, fuck C crew, all that shit. And when they made me the supervisor, now I was only 28, 29. What was I, 29 at the time? 29? Yeah, 29 at the time. So a lot of fellas on that crew were a lot older than me, a bit more experience and everything like that. Well, some of them thought they did. But anyway, we won't go there. Um, yeah, so I thought, how the fuck's this gonna go? New crew. I'm not a real good social fucking speaker, and I got to get up and do a pre-start every morning and preach to people about safety. And like, don't get me wrong, I am a safe sort of a bloke, but yeah, sometimes I didn't mind bending the rules for myself, not for anyone else, because I never wanted to get anyone else hurt, injured, or the likes. But yeah, and I thought, how am I going to go with this? But the feedback over that 10 months I was the supervisor of Sea Crew, the feedback that I had from the guys and a few blokes and women were sad to see me go when I decided to come back over. But I ran a crew of 30, and them guys, I feel like they, for me, because I earned a bit of respect, well, I feel that I earn a bit of respect. Them guys really dug deep, and I can't thank them enough. Yeah, used to get the odd person that wasn't real agreeant with what I had to say or what I was telling them to do, but most of them respected, yeah, you're the supervisor. We do it your way. But I always asked for input because I wasn't an expert. So I never disregarded anyone for having a go. And I love training people. So I loved being able to help people progress in what they were doing, whether it be side tippering or fucking excavators, loaders, anything like that. I loved it. I loved helping people out. I loved seeing people succeed. And I think in my mind, that's what made me a good supervisor. And yeah, now I wouldn't, we'll go to the mental side of things when you're doing that role as the supervisor. You've got a lot of pressure on you from clientele, workers, bosses, fucking everything like that. It takes one fuck up in that industry, and they told us this at our supervisor's course. All you have to remember is $5 million and 20 years in jail if you are the cause of someone's fucking, uh, what would you say, a death or something like that, or injury. You, if it was proven that you were fucking negligent, you were fucking getting a pineapple straight in you. Now, I felt I never put anyone in a position like that because not not because of the fear of going to jail or anything like that. It was the fear of I wanted to see everyone go home in the afternoons safely. What I do is what I do, and I've always lived by that. but I never ever wanted to put anyone's life in jeopardy or their career or anything like that. So that took a fucking big toll on me mentally. The stress, not so much organising work, jobs, and looking after the crew, that never worried me because I was always taught never let a fucking challenge beat you. And I never did. There was a few times I come close, but I give it a red hot crack and some things didn't work out. But it was the stress of at one fucking instance, something can go very wrong in this industry. And we hear it all the time on the news about people in the mining industry getting hurt or killed or such things like that. That was the side that got to me. And I, in the end there, with a few things that was going on in my personal life as well, I couldn't, there was points where I'd ring people and I'd be in fucking tears because I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to help some people. Now you've got people when you're looking after a crew, you've got people from every different walk of life, different races, nationalities, beliefs, sexes, everything like that. And you got to try and mold your way of working around everyone, and not everyone's different. Now I give a few people. I don't like yelling at people because I hate fucking being yelled at. I give a few people some tune-ups. I don't give people tune-ups unless they need it, unless I feel like they're doing the wrong thing. And not the wrong thing as to be difficult, the wrong thing that they could potentially get themselves hurt or hurt someone else or shit like that. And it's not like I love doing it, but there was ways around it where you got to beat around the bush because every person's different and you never know how someone's going to take that. Some people take it as constructive criticism. Now, I don't yell at them. Some people I did. But when you're trying to explain to someone that this could potentially hurt you or hurt someone else, some people take it the wrong way. They don't take it as constructive criticism. And fuck me, I'd love to be a fly on the wall in that mess in the afternoons to see what some people were talking about. Which, when you become a supervisor, you got to get away from that. You got to stop worrying about what everyone thinks because you're their boss. That's the way it is. Yeah, I had a lot of mates that worked under me, but you had to, when you're at work, you're at fucking work. And they understood that. And I take my hat off to everyone that worked underneath me. A lot of you probably thought I was a fucking asshole, but I wanted to see everyone get home safely. That was my main objective. And yeah, it ended up taking a big fucking toll on me. Like I said, I'd ring people and I'd be in fucking tears. What do I do here? I can't help this person. I don't know what to do here. Fucking yeah, shit like that. And there was a lot of blokes. I used to ring Timmy because he was a supervisor for the same company on another site. I used to give him a ring and he'd talk me through some things, explain how to go about things. And yeah, I'll be forever grateful for him. Um, yeah, but like I said, it was hard and it does fuck with your head. So, hardest thing that I felt like I had to deal with was I felt like I had to deal with everyone's problems, be a counselor to everyone, if you know what I mean. Because I always work on the theory, never take your problems to work. And you shouldn't because that can bring you unstuck and when your mind's not on the job and you're not thinking straight. You can cause incidents, you can cause accidents, and people could potentially get hurt or even worse, killed. But when you're dealing with 30 people and every one of them is different, you've nearly got to have 30 different personalities to be able to deal with them 30 different people. Because I feel my crew had a lot of trust in me to be able to speak to me. And I love that because they could be open with me about how they felt. Fuck me, a few of us were very open. There was a few times where I got yelled out for stuff that I couldn't control from higher up, if you know what I mean. And the workers were taking it out on me. But when you're trying to counsel 30 different people, it takes a toll on you because who's there to counsel you? Now, there was a few blokes that I worked alongside on my crew that were fucking tip top fucking fellas that would be just there when I needed a vent. And the one thing you got to learn when you become a supervisor is if you're venting, you got to be careful about what you're saying because, yeah, it's all right. You're not going to get along with everyone on your crew, but you got to be careful what you're saying because, one, you shouldn't be talking about other people in general. Not even, you don't even have to be a supervisor. You don't have to be in that position to not be talking shit about other people, but be careful what you say about other people. Be careful what you say about the job you're doing because one, it can get used against you, and two, you're dragging people down. But there was times when I needed to vent, and sometimes I'd call blokes up, Choppy, I'll have a yarn with you, quick catch up. And it was because I know them blokes would listen and they were beside me 100% and knew how I felt. So thanks for that to those fellas. But yeah, it was that was another hard part of the job was feeling like you got to counsel everyone. And not so much counseling, but even everyone's got different ways of learning. Now, not everyone's going to be 100% fucking expert on everything. I can tell you I'm not. No one is an expert on anything. A lot of them thought they were. And my worst trait as a supervisor, I wouldn't say it's a worst trait, but it helped me sort people from other people. I love people coming to me and telling me how fucking good they were, like straight off the bat when they started, because I'd sort of not put the pressure on you. It wasn't any different to what you had to do day to day, but I'd put the pressure on them straight away, and they either made it or they fucking didn't. And it wasn't a way of weaseling people out. It was a way of me being able to understand how they work and areas of improvement and shit. There was a lot of blokes that were more fucking talented than me, trust me. But there was a lot of people that said they were fucking experts at what they did, and yeah. But like I said, we won't go there. So yeah, I like to be able to understand how people work, how people's minds work, so I can work with them. I don't like working against people. There's nothing work, especially when you're running a crew. You don't want to feel like you're working against everyone. You want to work alongside them. And shit, there were days I was out there on a shovel, fucking digging a screen out because it was bogged down. I'd be right there beside the guys, giving them a hand because I feel as a leader, you, you got to work with them. You can't just sit there and bark like a dog and not do it yourself. So that was just my way of looking at it as a supervisor. Get in, get the job done, give everyone a hand, and you'll earn that respect. which I felt I did. But like I said earlier, a lot of people probably sitting there listening, going, "Oh fuck, you were an asshole." But anyway, that's their opinion. I've got mine, and I thought I did all right. And like anything, you never know how you're gonna go until you give it a crack. I wasn't sure how I was gonna go, but I think I did all right, and it was unfortunate having to leave. Like, don't get me wrong, I love being a supervisor. I love, like I just spoke of, love getting out there and helping, and but yeah, it's just it was taking too much of a toll on my mental state, and as we all know in the FIFO industry, mental health is a big one because of the grueling reality of it, of being alone, being away from family, everything like that. Um, yeah, there's a there's a high rate of suicide in the industry, which is unfortunate, and there shouldn't be because you you should be able to go to work, come home, and not have that stress and depression. But in all honesty, mining is not for everyone. In reality, it wasn't for me, even though what I'm doing now is sort of the same, but in the aspect of being away. But yeah, so would I recommend the FIFO life? One side of it, yes. If you're struggling for money, if you're looking for new adventure, if you um, don't mind getting in and doing a bit of hard work, like shit, I work with a bloke on B crew. Now, if anyone says they can't work, this old fella, old Coot, shout out to him, 75 years old and still doing day shift, night shift, swinging a digger, steel picking, gets in the road trains, everything like that. Absolute fucking legend. Um, but yeah, if you don't mind getting in and having a bit of a go, it's not a bad industry to get into. But then there's the other side of it. Now, if you're got a young family and you're doing okay, you've got a steady, stable job, you're not struggling for money. If you want to change and you're all happy with the change, yeah, go for it. But if 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 you've got a steady, stable family life, job, you're not struggling, I wouldn't recommend it because it will come in between you and your family with whatever happens. Not always, but there is a lot of sad stories of shit that happens. So there's two ways to look at it. And another thing is, if you're an older sort of fella, kids are left home, you and the wife want to make a bit of money for your retirement, fucking get amongst it. 90% of the people I worked with over there, well, I wouldn't say 90%, we'll just go half. 50% of the people over there were fucking older fellas, older women that kids have left home. They're either divorced or they're still happily married. And they just want to make a go of it, make a bit of money before they retire so they can retire comfortably. And I think it's fucking great. Get in, have a bit of a dig while you still can, make a bit of money. But yeah, it's a tough one because there is good things about it and there is bad things about it. Like the company I work for, pay for your flights. You earn Virgin points. So, like, I can fly anywhere in the world at the moment, um, free of charge by using my points. That is a big perk of it. Um, like your food, accommodation, everything like that's paid for. Clothes, there is other discounts and other things with certain companies that you work for. And you do get to see a different lifestyle, a different side of the country. Not just saying in WA, like wherever you may end up going, but just remember there always is the dark side of it. And I don't want to touch any more on the dark side of it because, yeah. But if you want to go and have a go, by all means, have a go. But just remember, yeah, sometimes it does come at a cost. Like anything, like this job comes with a cost with family time. It is what it is. You make it what you make it. So, a bit of a review quickly. Just finished staring at that western sunset, and luckily I've got some good shades to cover the eyeballs because they were going to get fried. Shout out to Savage boys there, unreal glasses. Yeah, some people say I look like a fucking cab over Kenworth windscreen with them on, but I run the PBRs, unreal glasses. So get amongst it, grab a pair. It won't be disappointed. But yeah, that's my bit of a segment on my FIFO experience. Not every experience is going to be the same. So I've got a couple of yarns. I can't tell some of them, but I've been thinking. I've got a couple here. I remember one night we were carting out of a ROM pad right down the end of the mine, and it's renowned for having really, really, really big chunky rocks. Now, some of these rocks would make Uluru look like a fucking pebble. Anyway, I rolled into the pad there, and little Mark was on the loader. Sookie's in the road train. Anyway, Mark calls me up. Is that you, Gap? I said, yeah, mate. He goes, What's what's your thoughts on putting big rocks in the back of trailers? I said, well, the supervisor said if you can get it in the bucket, it'll go in the crusher. Now, mind you, the bucket of them WA 600s, Matsu loaders, hold 16 odd ton, but when it's in rock form, some of them rocks can get upwards of 20 ton, a single rock. Now, it probably sounds like I'm exaggerating when I said that this rock looked like a Toyota Land Cruiser in the back of this side tipper. It was that long and that thick. Little Mark goes, righto, no worries. Anyway, I could see the back of Sookie's tipper. I couldn't see the top of it because I had my lights on park. It was a night shift, mind you. None of this shenanigans would have went on during day shift. Anyway, I see Mark coming up, and I see him crowd the bucket forward. I couldn't really see what was in it. Next minute, I hear bang, and Sookie's tipper just rocking like all fuck. I said, oh, yeah, right. Seems like a bit of a sounds like a big rock. Anyway, I flicked my high beams on. Well, it looked like Haley's Comet just flew out of the sky and landed in Sookie's tipper. And I called Mark up and I said, right, I'll catch you on the ground. So I jumps out of my truck and I walks up there and got the torch and the headlamp and that, and we're looking at this thing, and it's sitting about 5 foot above the top of the tipper. Now these were deep-sided tippers, and he said, Suki said to me, he said, "What am I going to do here?" I said, "Well, you either tip it on the ground or you tip it in the crusher." I said, "I'd tip it in the crusher because you're bound to bust something if you try and tip that on the ground. It's the size of a fucking Land Cruiser Ute." Anyway, little Mark, she comes flying out of the loader. He said, "The supervisor's going to eat his words with that one." I said, "You're not wrong." Anyway, old Suki goes and tips her in the crusher. Now, them crushers could take 150 ton at one time, but not with one rock. And this rock, she jammed straight into the cone and just absolutely stalled it. So then the crusher was down, and believe it or not, we got a tune up. No more rocks any bigger than 3 or 4 beer cartons. Righto, no worries. Yeah, she was a bit of a weapon, that rock. Another one there when I was still on B crew. Now there's a few ramps onto ROM pads, and there was a big pile of dirt called heap leach. Now, when I say a big pile of dirt, it it did look like Uluru. It was massive. Very steep ramps getting up to there, and it was renowned for blokes getting stuck on. Now, it wasn't really the sort of ramps you'd tackle when it was wet. And when I say we had 2 inches of rain this night, we couldn't get up onto the main ROM pad to tip tip rock off. So the 2IC at the time was running the show, and he said to us, "Righto, we're going to cart a bit of heap leach, a few patch jobs and everything." It was the same again, night shift. So we're all sitting there, and everyone's going, "You're fucking joking!" Like you're flat out getting up there in the dry. Anyway, not too much really worried me. Like it's an automatic Mac. All you got to do is press a button, change gears. But I understand with a few of the new to industry drivers, they struggle a bit. So, but um, he said, "Right, we're going to go and do that." And no one was sort of getting up and getting ready to go and tackle the mountain. Oh, fuck it. I'll go first. Anyway, Jack said to me, "Yeah, right, I'll follow you." No worries. He said, "I'll wait down the bottom for you so I can get a run up. And if you get stuck, let me know. Or if it's not going to plan, let me know so I don't run up your ass." I said, "Yep, no worries, brother." Anyway, you got a 40k an hour S bend at the bottom of this first ramp. So, but mind you, in the wet, slippery little shit, you can't hit it at 40 k's an hour. Well, I used to, because what's the old saying? Throttle on, full send, never lift. Anyway, I come round this S bend and I fucking into her, and it wasn't too bad up the first ramp, and you sort of leveled out, and then you went up again, and the second ramp was very steep, and you only got up to about 40k an hour again to hit this second ramp. Well, when I come up that second ramp, I had everything locked in, and she's spinning and slipping and sliding, and I'm barely getting up there. Now, if there wasn't bun walls and you were to slide off the edge of this mountain, you'd be gone. It's a long way to the ground. It's higher than the main ROM pad, so yeah, I'd reckon, oh, probably yeah, it'd be 50, 60 metres up. So, if not higher. Anyway, I battled all the way to the top of this thing in first gear, just spinning, spinning, spinning all the way up, and Nelly stopped. Anyway, I gets up there. Jack calls me up. How'd you go? I said, yeah, no dramas. Didn't even spin a wheel. Yeah, righto, no worries. Righto, I'm coming. I'm sitting up the top. I got out of the truck. I'm having a smoke. I was fucking hearing coming, revving and roaring, and fucking next minute, he gets right to the top. Fucking, I'm back in the truck at this stage. Next one I hear over the UHF, you fucking lying prick. And all I could hear in the background was all the buzzers and beepers going off, bomp, 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 bomp. He said, I nearly fucking stopped there. I said, well, you didn't. So you did all right. Anyway, the next four trucks after us all pushed up the hill. So this shows that that hill did sort the boys from the men. But no, it's good time working there. I enjoyed myself with stuff like that. And shout out to me to IC, who is now the supervisor of Sea Crew. I hope you're cracking along, Bretto. I hope you're doing good things, mate, and everyone's showing you the respect that they showed me. So yeah. Right, we'll wrap this episode up. A bit of a change, a bit of a long one. I think we're getting close to an hour in. Hour of me gibbering and peppering your ears. You'll probably need a break, a bit of therapy. But yeah, I'll leave you with a bit of an inspirational uh, saying from the man himself, Denzel, and it focuses on no matter what anyone thinks of you, just be you and follow your path, get to your destination within self growth and everything like that. So, righto, guys, keep it upright, and I'll talk yous. Never left.
If you dress sharp, they'll laugh and say you're showing off. If you dress plain, they'll whisper that you're broke. If you speak your mind, they'll call you arrogant. If you stay quiet, they'll call you weak. If you succeed, they'll say you got lucky. If you fail, they'll say you didn't try. Work too hard, they'll warn you to slow down. Rest for a moment, they'll say you've lost your drive. If you love openly, they'll call you naive. If you protect your heart, they'll say you're cold. Stand firm, you're stubborn. Bend a little, you're weak. The truth is this: no matter what you do, people will judge. They don't see your struggles, your late nights, your sacrifices. They only see what fits their story. One day you're too much. The next, you're not enough. And if you keep chasing their approval, you'll never find peace. So stop running after applause. Stop living in the noise of their voices. Focus on your path, your peace, your growth. Because in the end, their opinions won't build your future. Your actions will.
But hey, legends, if you're enjoying what I'm doing, and you like what you're hearing, and you think it's some good chat, make sure you hit us up on the socials. Get on the Facebook page, give it a like, give it a follow, share it around. And if you're listening on whichever platform you choose to listen to, give it a follow, give it a like, give it a share, give it a subscribe. And just remember, never live. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.